you doing this weekend? How's the day going? All right. So our next guest, photos and video are okay. So anyone who wants to take some photos or whatever. So our guest has been in many projects from television to film, from Beauty and the Beast, Blade 2, Hellboy, and a show some people might know about, Sons of Anarchy. And so much more. Please give a huge round of applause for Ron Perlman.
How am I doing so far?
How's your trip out here, Ron?
Huh?
How was the trip to Cincinnati?
None of your goddamn business.
Okay, all right. Moving on.
Found out you can't get here from the L.A. without going through someplace. So I'm gonna. Is there a complaint department somewhere around?
We might be able to find somebody.
I'm so grateful to just be alive. I don't really care where I am.
Have you been to Cincinnati before, or?
I have. Most of you have known me from 3 or 4 visits here, and did a bunch of comments. I did a play here many, many years ago. I'm in and out. I'm up and down. You know how it is.
So,
He's speechless.
I know. I'm like, which
okay,
question? Where do I go?
Let's wrap that up right now.
Just do a. You said you've done cons.
Did somebody bring their fucking kid?
I think so. Yep. There she is. She's laughing back there now.
You're about to get an earful, kid. Listen, you're gonna hear it someplace. It may as well be Uncle Ron, who gives you the skinny.
Now, you've worked in theater, film,
Vaudeville.
television.
I go back a way.
You go back a year or two. Is there any like a one over the other that you just enjoy more of, like?
I'm addicted to creativity. I'm in love with what I do. I love being an actor. It's kind of like everybody has their thing that makes them, engages their mind and acts like was it serotonin? When you yeah. My thing is when you give me a character that I have to figure out how to play, I'm completely engaged and happy. It doesn't really matter if it's just voice work, cartoons, or if it's
I think the cartoons.
Exactly.
You're a big fan.
Everybody's a critic, huh? What was the question?
If there any that you said you like creativity, if there was any between theater or television, does any stand out more than the other? I should say.
No. Acting is acting. It doesn't really matter what the venue is or what the kind of parameters are. It really is basically just holding a mirror up to whatever the humanity is that you're trying to unearth based on what's on the page. It all starts with what's on the page, and then it becomes like solving a crossword puzzle or a Rubik's Cube or whatever it is that that gets you your juices flowing.
And speaking with creativity, you've worked with some directors like Guillermo del Toro, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, children. City of Lost Children, Hellboy, all these like very visionary directors. Does something like that really bring out even more of that you said serotonin, like excitement, and it just like get you into the role with a creative mind like those?
Yeah, no, I've been really, really like very, very lucky because there's a kind of an exoticism to working with a lot of these guys who aren't like conforming to traditional storytelling. You know, like it's multidimensional. It's sometimes, you know, the characters I've been asked to play are really abstractions. You know, trying to play a character from 80,000 years ago. That's something that starts. You have to, like, first of all, fire up your imagination before you actually even begin to have a discussion about the humanity. And you have to figure out all of these external kind of parameters that the character is influenced by. And then you have to let all of it just flow through your own kind of authentic, natural, truthful self. And it's a very cool, trippy process, and it just floats my boat. It turns me on. I'm an old man right now. I'll be older tomorrow, and much older next week, and I love it more now than I ever have. It's amazing.
And anyone who has questions for Ron, if you want to line up at either of the mics, we'll jump in with you guys here in just a second. Now, you said you love it. You're loving it even more now. What is it that's kind of really, kind of skyrocketed? Even like the more you've done it, the more you're just in love with it.
I think the other great thing about being a performing artist is that as you gain more experience in life, more layers, things that you've seen, things that you've experienced, things that you've evolved away from and into. Like there's a lot of stuff that I thought were really important 40 years ago that now hold no importance for me whatsoever, but there are a lot of other things that are truly, and so each of those phases in my life, I act as filters through when I have to tackle a new role. And so it's always interesting because it's always being affected by a completely different set of stimuli, and it's always fresh and it's always new, and I'm finding there's not a lot about getting old that's good. I can list it probably on 3 fingers. One of them is I'm shitting in my pants right now and I don't care. And the other 2 really don't matter. It's just that's the one that really matters the most. But the great thing, the best thing of all about getting old is that I used to care so deeply what people thought of me and you know, whether I was making people happy or not, and I just don't give a shit anymore. It's all, and I'm thrilled when I reach people and when I touch people and when I connect with people. Don't get me wrong, but that's not what I'm looking for. Like I'm just gonna do it for myself because I love it, and I'm inviting you all to come on in and enjoy it with me, or go fuck yourself. I don't care.
On that segue, we'll start with fan questions. Go right here.
How's the kid doing back there? He's aged a little bit since we started. Out of diapers. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Jeff. Go ahead and say it, and I'll repeat.
I worked with Andrea Romano. She was the very first person that gave me my very first voice job, cartoon job, on a show called Bonkers, which, you know, at least 4 people in here have seen. And immediately fell in love with cartoon acting because it's big and broad and it invites you to be wacky and zany and not and remove all of your filters and go nuts. And then I adored Andrea, and I think it was mutual because she kept Pretty much every time she was the main director at Warner Brothers for like 30 years. So she kept inviting me on to one show after another, and we have a long, storied relationship. Did a lot of work together. Love Andrea. Love her.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Well, first off, you're the best Hellboy we ever seen on stage, on screen and everything. There's no other Hellboy. First and foremost. Secondly, the question I got is, how does it feel to play the best SOB on TV, Clay Merle from Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Big gun, big opinions, big sex life, big, big shoes.
Big paycheck. Thank you.
If there weren't kids here, I would.
You would go deeper?
I would go further, but.
I got you. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
I know you've done a lot of movies versus the Sons of Anarchy with the TV series. Do you prefer the small screen versus the big screen?
I just love great storytelling. Television in the last 20 years, I think, has kind of overcome films in terms of complexity, storytelling. I think there was so much focus on great TV series that a lot of the talent that would have been writing for, the way it works is like the talent always goes where the action is. So back when I was a kid growing up, the greatest writers were writing for the theater. And then when the theater became not as lucrative an endeavor, but movies started to become like the place to be, the great writers, instead of writing the great American play, were writing great movies, great screenplays. And then it just shifted over to TV around the early part of the 21st century with cable. The storytelling got more expansive. You could deal with more interesting issues as opposed to the Procter and Gamble stuff that was on network television. And the storytelling got more interesting. That's the only thing that matters to me. It doesn't really matter if it's a movie or a TV show or whatever it is. If it's got a world that's original and weird and full of surprises, I'm usually attracted to it.
Thank you very much. I love doing Hellboy.
Thank you.
All right, so you've been Slade Wilson in the animated Teen Titans series, probably the best DC villain, my opinion. So
You're not wrong.
Have you have you been invited back to do Slade in other media? If you haven't, would you want to be invited back to do Slade again?
A couple of sex orgies. I was. No, I only did it on the Saturday morning cartoon, bro.
We do have 3-ways in Cincinnati. I don't.
But now that I put it out there, my number is 310. That's it. Sorry.
Over here. You left him kind of speechless.
So you say you enjoy the storytelling the most. Going back to Slade from Teen Titans, what was it about Slade as a character that you enjoyed the most?
Well, Slade was just a really cool opportunity. Without Andrea Romano, who we talked about a minute ago, I would, she said, we're doing this show called Teen Titans. We'd love for you to come in and do this character named Slade. He's the baddie. And as you know, when you're playing a villain, villains can be the most interesting character to play because they're usually very kind of, there's a lot of aspects to their weirdness and their badness, a lot of history, a lot of weird neurotic wiring. So they're very interesting characters to play, and I thought Slade was an opportunity to do some creepy stuff and really fuck some kids up, Like the amount of therapy went through the roof while I was doing that show. kids were, on the psychiatric couch, like left and right. Which, that means I'm doing my job, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll attest to that.
Hi, thanks for being here. You've obviously been in multiple roles that have involved heavy makeup work and a lot of
What are you saying?
costuming.
What are you saying?
I'm just asking.
No,
So no, but you've obviously played multiple roles where you had to spend a lot of time in the makeup chair getting into costume. What was the most difficult one? Which one was the most challenging for you involving the makeup?
Clay Morrow, no makeup whatsoever, but he was a guy who didn't think like me.
Yeah.
He didn't make any choices in life that I kind of understood or ascribed to, or choices that I would have made. The Beast, yeah, he was 4 hours worth of makeup, but I understood him. He was something that was close to my own kind of.
That was one of my mom's favorite shows when I was growing up.
Hellboy, I
to watch it a
really,
lot.
really understood him. He was like the biggest underachiever, if he's got a choice to save the world or eat a piece of pizza, he's going to go for the pizza every time,
Totes.
So even though those were characters where I put a lot of stuff on and looked like I was very different from me, those characters were very similar to me. Clay was the hardest character. Clay was a character I had a lot of trouble and fear of playing because I had to really, step
Work
out of
to
my own
understand
kind
his
of
mind,
purview to understand how he operated.
Thank you.
Hi. So first off, I want to say it's awesome to be able to even be asking you this question, and I'm so glad that you're here. So I wanted to ask you about the film Bunraku, and I thought you did an amazing job as the villain in that film, and it's a super underrated film. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's really worth seeing. It's called Bunraku, and I was wondering if maybe you could talk about what it was like filming Bunraku, and also if you were able to meet Gact at all, the actor from Japan. And
Yeah, he was, there were like 5 leads: Woody Harrelson, Gact, Demi Moore, Josh Hartnett, Kevin McKidd, and myself, and it was as distinguished a cast of actors that I've ever worked with. That was incredibly stimulating. I had a kind of a historic, kind of weird love-hate relationship with Demi Moore. That was incredible thrill to, to fantasize about things that we might have or not have done together. I need to step away. No. It was a tremendously. Bunraku is a form of storytelling which incorporates puppetry, animation, live action, and film. So it's kind of like a pastiche. It's kind of, what do they call it in art? Multimedia. Yeah, it's a very theatrical form of storytelling, which immediately gets one's attention if you love style.
yeah, I think that's why I love the film so much.
Yeah, me too.
You just did a great job in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is your favorite scene yet?
My what?
Favorite scene?
Favorite scene that you did?
My favorite scene that I've ever done?
You haven't had a whole lot, have you?
Dave's the coach, so go ahead and say it.
My favorite scene that I think maybe the scene where I'm eating cookies in Hellboy with the kid. Just because I really like cookies, and you're not, when you're playing a scene where you're eating something, you're not supposed to really eat it. You're supposed to act like you're eating it, and then when the camera's not on you, you spit it out. I ate 56 cookies. We did that movie in 2006, and I'm still not right yet. I'm still, my stomach is a little off.
Thank you.
Hello. I don't
Hi.
have a question. I just want to be able to say that I got this close to my celebrity free pass. So I just
Free pass. Wow.
right? All right. You get this. I'm this close to him, right? Hi. Bye.
I have a table upstairs.
The table you can get a little bit closer to you, can't you?
You can get a little closer.
Yeah.
Come to the table.
Hi. First of all, my dad is a huge fan of yours. He has all of your movies, DVDs, and everything. Is there a favorite prop of yours from the movie The Ice Pirates that you have?
Oh my God, I love that movie. Can we talk about space herpes with kids in the room?
You didn't get to keep anything from that movie?
It's funny because I had already done 3 jobs where I was completely covered up in rubber makeup and unrecognizable, and like Ice Pirates was almost like a coming out party. It was one of the very first times where I played, and I said, okay, in this movie I want to look like Tony Curtis. This is the closest I'm ever gonna come to. And so that was it's not a prop, but it's what I was, anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you've been kind of typecasted as Johnny Badass. Are you addicted to those roles, or do you just is that just the character, everyone you're getting typecasted at that?
I think it started to become like they didn't know what to do with me, so they always made me the heavy, and I think I've grown into it. In my real life, I just realized, okay, yeah, I'll be that guy.
So you enjoy it now.
I really enjoy being a badass. Really.
And
I really enjoy.
I just want to say one of my favorite movies of you were in was Blade 2. All the other ones are great, don't get me wrong, but Blade 2 is I think that's one of your underrated roles because you're unfortunately not the star of that, what I think you are.
But you are badass.
In my house, I'm the star of that.
Yeah.
Hi. A few years ago, well, in the 80s, I saw you in A Few Good Men before it was a movie, and I found you moving. And did you like playing that role as a colonel? You didn't?
I loved it.
And there was a part where you just blew like smoke rings and smoke up in the air. I just really thought you brought the whole character to life. I wish it had put you in the movie because you were so moving, and it was really incredible, and I'm glad you enjoyed it because, that was a while ago for me, but I still remember the scenes with you in it. I thought you were just incredible.
Yeah, I did the Broadway show.
That's where I saw you. Yeah.
I replaced Stephen Lang, who originated that role.
Okay.
And when I was getting ready to come into the show, I asked the director if I could smoke a cigar. Now, we're in a theater with, 3,000 people, and he goes, I'm not sure how that's going to go over. It's like smoking a cigar in a public place in a theater, and, there's going to be people that are going to object. He said, do you have a really, really good reason to doing it? And I said, yeah, I have 2. Number 1, they're in Cuba.
Right, yeah.
And number 2, it's the most disrespectful thing you could do to somebody who is coming to fuck with you.
Yeah. You were just so bold. I just remember that scene where, and it was just went up in the air, and you didn't care. You was really badass. It just how you made the character. And a lot of people probably don't realize that, but you just brought the character to life and just blowing smoke I don't care. Come at me. And
thank
you did a great job.
Yeah, it gave me a black lung, but no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
When Sigourney Weaver made that backward shot in Alien, who lost it the most on the cast?
Well, I completely ruined the shot because the camera was on both of us. There was one camera that was on both of us, but it was the camera that was going to show you that it wasn't trick photography. It was a camera that was wide enough. I'm over here, Sigourney's over here, the basket's over here. She dribbles, walks, and then does this, and it goes in nothing but net. And I went, ah! And for a half hour, they're watching the playback to see whether you could see the basket going in before I completely fucked the whole thing up. Like, can they cut out of it, you know? And luckily they were able to do that. But I had watched Sigourney. Well, you know, we rehearsed the movie for like a month or so before and I was watching her practice that shot for like a month. She never made it once. We go to shoot the scene. We're on take one. And she dribbles, does this, keeps walking. She didn't know it went in. It was like an act of God. I mean, it was the weirdest thing. They had to tell her, like, you made the shot. She said, what?
Was Lancer based on an actual person that you had to go to school with?
My question was, before you started working on the first Hellboy film, did you have any knowledge of the character prior before getting that role? And what would you hope they would like to do for the character like how to expand him and actually do him right?
What, Hellboy?
Yeah.
Guillermo told me about Hellboy and introduced me to a life-size maquette of Hellboy at a comic book store in Los Angeles 7 years before we made the movie. And he said, this is my dream. I'm dreaming of making this movie because he's my favorite comic book character, and I'm dreaming of you being the guy who plays it. And I knew that I wasn't a big enough star to get the role, so I knew that, you know, it was a beautiful gesture on his part, but it was never going to happen. And it's for 7 years, they kept naming big movie stars that if Guillermo said, yes, I'll do that, he would have made the movie. And for 7 years, he kept saying, no, I'm sorry, it's going to either be Ron Perlman or we're not going to do it. And that's how long it took for him that's how long I knew about Hellboy, and that's how long it took for him to finally get somebody to finance the film.
And did you read the books like when?
I deliberately stayed away from all the comic books because I knew in my heart of hearts he'll never pull this off. I'm not a big enough name. I'm a character actor at best, and they need a movie star. They just for the math of it all, they're going to spend $100 million to make a film. They have to have something that they feel like is a sure bet. That's why you see movie stars over and over and over again in movies that they shouldn't be in, because they think that that's their insurance policy. But so I deliberately stayed away from all the material because I didn't want to get emotionally involved in the world of Hellboy, only to find out some other guy was going to play the role. And then when Guillermo finally got Revolution Studios and Joe Roth to say, okay, we'll make it with Ron Perlman, that's when I read all the comic books and I immersed myself in the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When you did find out, they finally was like, yeah, you're gonna play, where you're like, yeah, no, are you wrong? Like, because it's been so many years.
It was the biggest kind of like. I don't think there was ever a more fantasy meets reality moment I've ever had in my career than that one, because I really was convinced it was not even within the realm of possibility. So when he finally pulled it off, it was like, this is something I wouldn't even have dared to dream to be possible, and here it is now. It's a reality. So it was that first Hellboy, making that first Hellboy, I don't think my feet touched the ground the whole time.
Awesome.
I was thinking about Beauty and the Beast and how that may have been one of the first things I saw you in. But then I was thinking, I may have the years wrong, but Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose. I can't remember if you were in that before Beauty and the Beast or not. But
Actually, the Name of the Rose was playing right before they were getting ready to go into production on Beauty and the Beast. And Rick Baker had been hired to create the Beast. And he said, there's this guy who works very well in makeup. He doesn't mind sitting in the chair for 4 hours. He's actually, you know, he likes the gig. There's a lot of actors who can't stand being in the makeup chair for that long. And so Rick recommended that they have a look at me. It was because of Name of the Rose. And he was very instrumental in me getting, you know, the consideration and then ultimately the part.
yeah, that was Beauty and the Beast was such an amazing series with Linda Hamilton. It was kind of like these early careers that went on to become amazing. And of course, George R.R. Martin wrote the series, right?
Yeah, George was in the writing room.
Yeah.
He wrote the beautiful Halloween episode. You remember that?
Yeah, where he
where
can
Vincent
go out
finally
into
can walk into the world and.
Yeah, without having to disguise himself. Yeah, that was really neat. But do you have any like Sean Connery stories from Name of the Rose?
Oh yeah. None of them I could tell,
Yeah.
and you know I'm willing to say almost anything in front of anybody. But I swore to Sean, you know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. My question, of course, has to do with Hellboy. So I've seen all the Hellboy films, and obviously I'm sure we all agree that you had definitely most character presence out of all of them. I don't think anyone has been able to pull it off since you. And so my question is, if they gave you the opportunity again, would you come back to the Hellboy role?
Well, look, I've said this many, many times before. I'm sure I apologize to all of you who are not hearing with this for the first time, but it was always meant to be a trilogy. And the third story was going to be the one that wrapped it all up, and that was going to deal with the Oracle, which is the Oracle is Hellboy has been summoned to the earth to end mankind. But he's been raised to save mankind. So the third story was going to be this internal struggle between whether it would be nature or nurture. And then if you remember the end of the second movie, Liz is pregnant with twins. So they're going to play very strongly into the third movie. And my condition for doing another Hellboy movie would be to do the final act of the trilogy with Guillermo. And because Guillermo didn't do the one with David Harbour, that's why I passed. And I said, the only way I'll come back to do Hellboy is if we finish what we started and we do it in, you know, but I'm not interested in just playing him to, you know. And I love money, but don't get me wrong.
Have you seen the other David Harbour and then the newest
No.
one?
I've seen David Harbour, but not his movie.
Not his movie. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for everything you're doing and everything. And I don't know if nobody remembers this movie, but it was the first I've ever seen you in with my parents, and it was Quest for Fire.
That's the first movie I ever did.
And I was wondering how you felt about playing a role where you really didn't have no speak role in it at all.
In my mind, I will now quote my entire dialogue from Quest for Fire. Oh. Ah.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Well done.
You don't have to get up. I can hear you.
Yeah. No.
I love people. I love people. I really like this kind of thing, where I come to a city that's completely unlike where I live, you know, whole different community, walk of life, part of the country, et cetera, et cetera. And then just looking into the faces of people and spending just enough time to kind of like suss out what kind of load are you carrying? Everybody's carrying a load, and my starting to get choked up. But we all need to see each other, regardless of what our politics are or what our religions are or what our colors are. So everybody just wants to know that they're being seen. And I think I'm obsessed with looking into somebody's eyes and seeing a little piece of what it is they're carrying with them. I didn't know I was going to say that, but that's.
Yeah, thank you.
I have two questions. First question is, what's your most favorite skill that you picked up from playing, like from any of the characters you played in movies or television?
Eating ice cream.
Or cookies.
That was my second question, actually. Like, what's your favorite cookie brand?
My favorite cookie?
Brand.
Cookie brand.
Brand, yeah.
I don't. I'm a soft kind of chocolate chip cookie guy. I don't think there's a brand. It's just like you got to make it homemade and fresh and like comes right out of the oven, and there's a lot of chips. More chips than you think you need.
And then put more in on top of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was deep, bro.
You've obviously worked with Guillermo del Toro quite a few times. What is your favorite thing about working with him, and what's like the just funniest story you have with him?
Who?
Guillermo del Toro.
He's just a lot of fun, man. I mean, he's like the most beautiful thing that kind of like overwhelmed me. He's the first guy that brought me to Mexico. I'd never been to Mexico before. And it was for a movie called Kronos, which was his first film back in 1991. And I was so enchanted by being in Mexico. It took me a long time to figure out what it was that made me so seduced by just breathing the air there and walking, through life there. And it's because they don't take themselves seriously at all. Guillermo del Toro is as well-read and as cultured and as brilliant a human being who doesn't take himself seriously. So that there's a kind of like a dichotomy, a kind of a contradiction in terms there that's very charming. And working on his movies is a lot of fun. We laugh our asses off. And
Thank you.
And the joy of it is, I think the thing if I had to think about one of the number one thing that kind of you take away from working with him is just the joy. It's just a very joyful environment, and a lot of it has to do with how much we love movies. We love, the things that you do to make them, the process, and everything like that.
Hi there. Thank you for coming to the Cincinnati again. And my question is, what is it the number one thing you took from being the narrator of the Fallout series?
The money.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
There was really nothing else. I mean, just come in, read this. Okay, get out of here. Check will be in the mail in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
I wish I could give you a more profound answer, bro, but I'm just, war never changes, you know what I mean?
So I have a follow-up of, you were saying Guillermo's, he's just a lot of fun. Do you have any, stories of anything that you can't say, of like fun things that happen on set that like behind the scenes? I think he's got one. I don't know.
So I'm playing a superhero. I was 54 years old when we did Hellboy 1. I was 57 when we did Hellboy 2. But even when I was like, 16 years old and playing a lot of baseball, I was the slowest runner. I run so slowly, it actually looks like I'm actually going backwards. And we're doing this one scene. We're shooting the first movie in Prague. And I'm chasing a monster, which they're going to put in post-production. It's just going to be a CGI monster. But the stunt man is acting like the monster. And I'm chasing him. And I go chasing him this long chase down this alley. And there's all of the cameras and all of the video village where the directors are sitting and looking at the monitors and stuff of the shot. And I had to run right by everybody. And by the time I got to where Guillermo and all the producers and the DP were sitting, I had revealed that, I'm what a shitty runner I am. And you could just see them sitting there like this, like trying not to embarrass me and trying not to crack up in my face. And as I ran by, I said, "I thought you said bellboy!" That's the best Jerry Lewis you're ever going to hear.
Thank you. Ron, I want to thank you so much for coming to Cincinnati, to the Cincinnati Comic Expo. Everybody give Ron Perlman a big round of applause.